Good evening, everyone, and welcome to beautiful Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, as the top drivers in EGT3 Challenge Pro competition are ready to be challenged in their fourth round of the campaign here on ACC. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Glenn Butt, as we get ready to see which drivers can survive one of the very quickest tracks on the circuit, but also one of the most challenging ones, Glenn, to be able to conquer correctly.
And at the halfway point of this season, it is a tricky track indeed, and you come out of this one with some maximum points, you're going to be set pretty good for the second half of the season.
And these 4.35 miles, 7 kilometers, will be a very big testing mark for drivers and their abilities to save, as well as plan out where to pass amongst the hillsides. Jonathan Boivin has been dominant, to say the very least. He's won a majority of the races so far, 70 points to his name. Then Shenteg's in second in the standings, followed by Ordiaz in third. Then you have Mayer, who missed a race at one point. He's got 32 points in the season in fourth. Moisan rounds out the top 5 in the standings. Then in sixth position, you have the 711 of Landry, Racine, Mador, Alvarez, Alonso rounding out the top 10. Wide range manufacturer differentials there, but the main thing is the 99. He's been on form, to say the very least, for the multiple-time series champion.
2 firsts and a second, very consistent. He has been dominant, and you also can note that the top 3 there at this point in the season so far don't have a penalty to their name.
First with the penalty, indeed, is that 991 machine. They're involved in some of the incidents early on in the season. His Porsche, though, has been getting stronger the past couple rounds. I've noticed in particular, Glenn, where he's been consistently giving some pressure to the race leaders. Always been, especially last round at Zolder, in the conversation to be inside the top 3 by the end.
Well, it says a lot that he's only run 2 rounds and both of them on the podium with a third-place finish.
Exactly. It just shows that consistency, in the question of if he was able to make the first race, what would have happened? In terms of his position standing-wise, he might be even higher than where he's at now. But we never could know.
You never know, and it just might be one of those things at the end of the year. It goes, if I'd only been there at the first race, because you just don't know.
And the big thing is, too, you may notice that black box for Melanson. That's how good he's been this year. He is a Pro-Am driver, Glenn, who is top 10 in the pro standings.
Again, consistency, you know. He also had a DNF in the first round, but 2 first-place finishes. Unbelievable runs for that 45 car.
Especially when it came to Circuit Zolder, positioned himself well from the get-go qualifying, was battling with some of the best drivers in the pro class, and had his strongest run overall on the season to put him in the conversation for a top 10 and the best running driver out of anyone for the Pro-Am side.
And he'll carry that extra 30 kilograms from that win.
Yes, indeed, with that respective class, that's going to make things even more difficult for him at a track where being quick is very critical, to say the very least. We mentioned
it's something go ahead.
Was about to say, it's something we've seen before too, Glenn. A lot that's been a factor in the race right after. And in particular, I think at Suzuka was a big factor, for example. The question is, how big will it be at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, in your opinion?
Oh, man, you know, I think it's going to be huge. Excuse me. I just, they've got to watch themselves on this track, and we'll talk a lot about, I think, this track throughout the course of the qualifying and the race, but it's going to be huge, I think.
Now, when it comes to this racetrack, there's a lot to discuss. And when it comes to this circuit, there's a fine art to taking the right line around this track. Let's take a look at your track guide for the virtual version of Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Let's look once again at the track guide. For Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, I'd like to thank series partners in Centre Porsche Quebec, as well as, of course, EGT Canada, as well as the CTC and Distillery du Bois, along with a new supporter past couple weeks or so, Club Autosport Delta Quebec, for jumping on board to support this season. Qualifying is underway. This is the Pro-Am qualifying session. Early morning conditions for the competitors, optimum track conditions, even though it may look a little slick with the conditions lighting-wise, but it's fairly cool at 24 degrees Celsius, air temp is 21 degrees Celsius. Overcast skies here at Spa for today's qualifying session here, Glenn.
And that should help the drivers a little bit as far as a little cooler temperatures are concerned with that overcast.
On, this is Jean-Luc Marchand now checking over with Melanson in particular. Test racing back that Ferrari second best in qualifying, like rounding to the top of the board so far with a 2:18.997. That changed quickly though with Melanson and his consistency throughout the campaign. This time around 2:19.705. That is not quicker than his current best. May see that jump up though this lap, because usually draft can be a big factor in qualifying, but at the same time, Glenn, you also need to think about that potential of being held up in the corners. It's a bit of an art to qualifying here at Spa too, to find that balance.
Yeah, it is. And you look at the track map, they are fairly spread out around the track, so it looks like he might be okay as far as clear laps are concerned right now at least. He's got a car just ahead of him.
15 car lanes in particular, that's the 917 up the road. That's Tommy Landry. Or racing Supersonic. He does have draft, however. And noticing when it comes to this group, Glenn, I was about to say, they're having a hard time, it seems, sticking to the very bottom of the corner in particular in Verbiage to make sure they stay tucked into that, towards that curve.
Yeah, you know what? Some of the curbs on this track can throw you for a loop if you get too tight inside of them as well. And then you watch there again. That's one of the things that we may have to watch is the limits, the outer limits at least of the racetrack. Because there's a lot of running off over the rumble strips when you run Spa.
And for some sims in particular, as you see, some of those being extended to the right side curves that time. Like benches long. When it comes to this racetrack, it's infamous for everybody testing the limits to see how far they can go. One of the more notable examples is on the iRacing side of the sim racing world, where before there was some changes to tracks such as this one, on their side, you had, that 1 year, a no incident limit 24-hour race. Guess who was involved in the race? Lando Norris, Max Verstappen and company? When Lando Norris was asked during the broadcast, how many incident points do you have? This was about 6 or 7 hours in or so. He said 973. Yeah.
You think some track limits there maybe, huh?
As you can guess, track limits were very much so strictly enforced the next year for that event. But it just emphasizes how much drivers can find to stretch out that distance here at this track. In particular, Francorchamps, the final chicane to the bus stop, some of the runoff areas through La Source in particular as well. Those are some of the notable places I've seen drivers really test that limit.
And it's because, you mentioned Blanchemont, that is such a high-speed section of the racetrack, and that's why you're testing the limits, because you are really on the limit and beyond.
Here it is, towards Blanchemont with LA, in fact. This time not really using much of that runoff space. There's plenty of it, of course, but you don't want to end up risking invalidating the lap time in qualifying, because it's going to be pretty strict when it comes to that mark to make sure you don't abuse that mark. Caution flag up ahead because the 33 pulled off to the side as we're running towards the final portions of this respective PAX lap times. And now end off Pro-Am qualifying. How quick it can go, to say the very least. Melanson set the fastest time in the group by 0.4 of a second.
He's on his mark once again.
it's time for the pro drivers, and someone has already gone off track, as you see on the map on your right side screen. That is Guillaume Medor, who has triggered a yellow flag by going off the circuit in Lake Combe towards Malmedy. Not how you want to start off your warm-up lap. As Melanson is still going, he is actually the only driver left on circuit, I believe, in this class, outside of the 74 of Generu de Geese, who is currently at the bottom of the board.
Well, and he's already got the top spot, so I guess if he's going to be able to get a time in here, we'll just have to see if he improves on it, that's all, but probably going to be into the pits on this lap.
Should be, with the caution flag usually out by this point for the Pro-Am driver times. He's actually going to keep going and see if he can do something. He's already got the pole time, and he'll just pull off to the runoff area instead of going to the pit lane. That is 10 feet on the other side of that tire barrier.
And there you go.
Welcome to virtual racing. Qualifying underway for the pro drivers meanwhile, and here is the superstar on circuit 27th. Currently on board. Of course, no one set a time from the class yet. And you see some of the tire warming factors and methods there. A little bit of swerving into the corner.
A lot more of a tight gathering of cars, too, if you notice on the track map, too, except for a few that good gaggle of cars all running together.
In this pack in particular, the 715s leading this grouping of cars at the moment. Racetrack for the start of this qualifying. We have the 991 also in this pack right now. Mixed in as well, Dominic Bovine and that 99 machine. You have a pretty strong grouping of cars, all that have a chance to feed draft. More so with the 99 feeding draft to the 432 of Eric Bordeaux, I should say, who is the last car in that first four grouping. A majority of the drivers who actually exited the pit lane have pulled off or either have gone themselves massive buffers to be able to start their sessions.
Just keeping an eye on that 99 Lexus of Bourdon. He looked strong down through a Rouge, didn't put a wheel wrong. This could be another one for him by the looks of it. He might be the one to beat again.
And that's exactly what I was talking about with the curve 2 through Riviage as he approaches Jackie X. Just wrapped it perfectly on his first lap out. Remember, it takes a couple laps for the tires to get up to their full peak temperature for a qualifying run.
Still looking at 11 plus minutes to go in this qualifier. Be anxious to see what his first couple laps are once the tires get heated up and see what we can get that car down to.
Actually, with some of the rubber buildup as well put on for the Pro-Am drivers, that's going to help them a little bit. Been an incredible season, we'll say, for the Advanced Sim Racing driver. And we talked about this earlier in the season. Advanced Sim Racing known for their ventures in the sim racing side. In particular, that connection with ASR and Able Esports in particular in sim racing has seen them become a pretty legitimate threat in the endurance racing scene in sim racing too, as of late. And as discussed a little bit in the past, when it came to the Red Bull Ring Masters, a majority of the drivers from that were from that respective camp with ASR backing, as he jumps up to the top of the board by half a second over Bourdon, and Bourdon is currently 6/10 back.
Changing the order though, they just see the Ferrari move to the outside of the front row. The 70 of Dubé.
He's been really quick, I will say, the 70 in qualifying. It's just been a matter of keeping it clean, I think, for Dubé, as we've seen. Speaking of, Dubé's actually had to tow the car after an incident coming out of Les Sources. He's actually closing into cars in front. He's so quick in qualifying right now.
I mentioned Dubé. He's obviously wanted to get his season turned around at the halfway mark, and a couple of DNF at the start of the season, and I think his best with that Zolder was a 9th.
Yeah. Strategies look pretty well from a couple of rounds. It's just been about keep it clean, really. In this track in particular, track position, Glenn, yes, you can make the argument of, yeah, quick car, you can charge the pack. That's easier said than done here because of the draft train effect that can come into play for the race. This session is so critical to make sure you're up in that front grouping in case that pack you're with loses touch with the leaders.
That's right, and it is such a fast track, and with the chicanes and the turns, you're constantly turning. You're right. You want to be up there, and you don't want to get marred in behind some slower traffic.
Of note, the car he was catching up to actually pulled off, and Andy Meyer, so that driver is on the side for now.
I thought that was Meyer's car he was catching.
There, that 991. So that machine is now reduced his draft effect. But we'll see how the 99 is on this second time around. 2/10 currently the separation between first and second. We take a look at Riley Shintag, who compared to him has a lot of draft being fed off him by a Bentley. The time went up by a 10th with a 7:17.2. He's been quick in qualifying all season in his machine. Lanes help him propel up the board.
Put on a great performance last race, that's for sure, at Zolder.
He definitely had the pace there, but his third quickest for now. He actually pulls off the track with the toe again. And I'm finding this intriguing. Most drivers are putting that time and realizing this is not good enough. I got to put my car back to the side of the road and go to the pit lane and make an adjustment. Even the 99's doing it here.
Yeah, and then they've got 7 minutes to go, so there's just enough time. They're still going to have to write off that out lap, but there's still enough time, 7.5 minutes.
We do have a fair amount of tire sets we talked about, and got this clarification a few weeks back from Race Control, where compared to other sims, you can carry over the tires from qualifying over to the race. Other sims, you don't necessarily have that option. So that was something clarified where from real world racing, you do have that ability to use if you come down to it, the qualifying tires. There's one set usually for practice, a couple sets for the qualifying. You would have the one for the race in theory. So at this point, it looks like the drivers are saying, got a couple sets to try. May as well see if we can do a better run in a couple laps on this one.
Yeah, they've got that ability, which is pretty cool. To, like I said, to come in, maybe put some scuffs on. I wonder if that's actually anything that they've done in practice. Scuffed a set of tires and they've come in and put those scuffs on.
The main thing I think about too when it comes to the sim side, though, is depending on the sim, you may have that ability where the scuffs are going to be quicker, obviously, with the tire temps. But of course, they have more laps on them. Of course, which makes that impact in. Take, for example, some sims, that burns off a certain percentage of the tire. Others burn an amount of wear on said tire. It just seems to depend really on sim to sim, in that matter, mind you.
Yes, you're right. I'm so impressed with the overall aspect of sim racing and how many drivers can translate that into real-world racing. But it's phenomenal what the sim racing level is like and all the adjustabilities, etc., that are available. It is phenomenal.
Mention the name Max Verstappen. He's one of the main names that come to mind. Some other sims as of late, a lot of the IndyCar drivers making some runs in sim racing. Some partnerships there. We also have a lot of road and oval drivers who have a lot of fun on the sim in some cases. You have drivers like Sheldon Creed who run in off-road races on the sims, for example. It's just intriguing to see how it's all come into play for some and become a more and more equal part for some to translate into the real-world car in some cases. And in turn, some of those drivers from virtual to reality, as it's said and named by some, have had some success as of late, I will say.
Hey, they can have their real-world cars. I'll just take their sim. Have you seen some of those rigs?
Yeah, the amount of sim rig equipment required. For some groups like ASR, keep in mind, that grouping who and provide some of that.
That's some tight. Sorry, I'm just looking at the time here, so not to change the subject. But Dubé's doing a great job still holding on to the outside front row, but it's pretty tight on the top four there.
that is a good point to bring up because, well, some of the setups, yes, you can have some very tight and slick in-sim setups and sim setups to for rigs in general. The time 7 tight indeed by 3 100s or so. Check that, 5 1,000s or so. Second through fourth place drivers are separated. That is tight. And Dubé, again, would be his best qualifying run of the season as up the board goes Meyer, who jumps up to the top 5 again. And no one's been able to touch this 99 is the crazy thing in part of that, Glenn.
No, they haven't. Hey, one thing he's probably even saying, hey, and I only have 20 kilograms of extra weight BOP on me this time, not the 30. And look at him still go.
One thing I'm noticing too, just with the visual look at all this too, that machine is just really balanced, I will say, in terms of its ride heights. Look at that front nose in particular. Just seals in perfectly in the corners.
Yeah,
well, that time it went to the ground, but it's near sealed.
Yeah, no, and overall he's got a well-balanced car.
I think that's just partly with the experience going. You have to think, because the more you know, to be able to help find that speed, the more valuable you can be as a driver.
Absolutely.
Under 3 minutes to go in qualifying, 10:27 in sim time. Cautions flaring up around the 99 as some drivers pull off, some pit in. Then having a stellar qualifying. Another lap time put in, but it's only a 2:18.7.
Nice run through the bus stop for him. It's not a long straight. The start-finish straight there coming out of the bus stop, or at least the run out of there. You know, you've got to have that perfect corner when you've got the longest straightaways. I know people are familiar with this. A common terminology when it comes to racing is getting out of that last corner that leads on to the longest straight, critically important. And I know the bus stop, coming out of the bus stop isn't exactly the longest straight, but he comes out of there like a rocket ship, it seems.
Yeah, you're right on that, Mark, because as we take a look at St. Oars, he's losing it. Loose through Jackie Yanks. What a save from the 96.
Dirt tractor. Yeah, I love it.
Almost
that was a heck of a save.
Almost looked like he clipped the grass, maybe? But that's incredible to make sure he didn't snap that into the tire barrier. That's not going to help his qualifying, of course, but still.
Yeah.
It's still in one piece.
Yep.
Down to about the final minute in qualifying after that slip and slide for the Team GTCQ machine. Keeps on following along, keep in mind, he is in 20th position. A couple of the pro drivers struggling, I've noticed. Bilodeau, 23rd. You also have Foltz-Rochon. Washlow, I should rather say, all the way down the board. 1.9 seconds back, not the greatest of runs for some in qualifying for the pro side.
So we're going to follow him through this lap, but like you said, with that slide, it's not going to be his best lap, that's for sure.
For St. Oars, indeed. Let's see where it does stand. And as expected, not great into 226. But he is among the last drivers to cross the stripe. Will have the chance, if he chooses to do so, to finish this run out. It's worth noting, you see those pit barriers along the side? We are using the classic pit lane today, meaning you have some drivers who will be along that run to Erosion Radion, that are the old pit paddocks. You also have some that will be utilized today down the front straightaway, out of the bus stop into La Source. That's going to mean lengthy pit stop sequences for today. Drivers will have to think about, and this qualifying factors in a fair bit potentially on which boxes they get in where they'll be pitting.
That could be one of the keys to the race, is that mandatory one pit stop that you've got to make and where you are positioned in that pit stall.
the way through the corners once more to close out the session. Right now, about 10 drivers on track to close it out. Of course, amongst the last of them. In the sector this is in particular, where the slide was, Jackie X now in through Poulon, all the way to Leffinge is to Stavlo. I think of this track in experience, Glenn, where, yes, that's all. A lot of the discussion is about the speed you carry around with Kemmel Straight, with Blanchimont, the Run de la Source, up El Rouge and Radion. But Sector 2 is so technical where if you don't hit it right in this sector, it ends up making all the speed you gain in 1 and 3 mute, where if you aren't able to maintain the pack in this second part of the track, that's going to hurt your chances, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's a great point. Exactly right. I mean, if your car is set up, or even as a driver, some drivers like the high-speed, fast corners, some like the technical aspects of a racetrack, and that could balance things out as well. And you're so right on that, Justin. If you're really underperforming in that sector, it could really have a factor on the other 2 sectors of the lap.
I'm looking to close things out. Half a second nearly up for the pole time currently. Will he expand that pole a little bit more? His next closest competitors have finished out their sessions already. Not able to bump it up, but 2:17 flat will be the best time in that group. The drivers now get the chance to make some adjustments after the qualifying session. Pretty close qualifying amongst the top 5, 2nd through 5th or so. But in the end there, Jonathan Bovine again doing Jonathan Bovine things. It's just been the story of the season there, it seems, Glenn.
Yeah, he is, what did you call him? The alien?
Yes.
He has proven that right from start to finish, I'm going to be the one you have to beat if you want this championship away from me.
Take a look through the grid in just a few moments to see where each of the drivers will be starting here. And as we discussed during that session, this run through up here is going to be one of the most critical portions of today. The starting position is going to be very key to make sure you stay out of trouble here. This will be a danger spot off the start. The Source will be another one. This is going to be a pretty crazy race, to say the least, as we've seen with the conditions and how much speed is carried around today, Glenn.
Yeah, you've got that run up through erosion. It's a high-speed 5th gear up into 6th for Kemmel Straight, and then hard on the brakes for that first right-hander to Lacombe. You're right. It's going to be a critical first lap.
Now, for these drivers, it's a matter of just making sure they position themselves to do what they need to do. Score the points here at this racetrack. A lot to discuss, to say the very least, when it comes to Belgium, and one of the main things is, when talking with fellow sim racing broadcasters, the way this atmosphere can be here too, Glenn, is so memorable for some, especially the smells and the sights you can have, because with this racetrack in particular, for those who have gone here, the way you have to walk around the track with the hillsides is you have to go Radion on down, essentially. That is a lengthy walk for fans to go along, but they come in droves to see racing every time it's here.
Popular racetrack on the circuit, there's no question about it, and I wouldn't mind trying that walk myself one year.
Smell of waffles was the main thing mentioned by some. Particularly not just from the bar and restaurant, but there's a particular, apparently a stand that also is set up amongst the circuit here for it.
It's all got to come back to food, doesn't it?
All indeed it can. Some of these drivers will maybe be using this time to get something to eat to make sure they're ready to go for the race in just a little bit. They won't have to worry about the nighttime conditions based on what we've seen.
No, I couldn't even imagine doing that right there in the dark.
This track is not easy under the lights, or minimal light, should say, to say the very least, because, well, it's hard to see those marks when there is no light compared to sunlight, as you see here. You don't have a hot air balloon to help spot you above, like that hot air balloon to your left.
La Source is such a challenging track, or pardon me, corner as well, because you've got to come right down tight to that wall on the inside to cut it, and then get as soon as you get straightened up, and your steering wheel's jacked right over to the right, and you got to wait to get that sucker unwind and put the power down and race to La Rouge.
So the drivers still finishing the last of their preparations, some of their final discussions before they get the go-ahead to make sure they can get themselves to the starting grid. Remember, with this series, rolling starts, which means for some, that run to the bus stop will be very critical to make sure they time up right before they get the command, say it's good to go, or the green flag. The starting line is going to be also important, and this is going to be the intriguing thing, is where they get that trigger, because when usually with the classic layout, it set up the starting line in the run up to El Rouge. The finish line is usually out of the bus stop right here. See where they get that green flag trigger to go, go, go today. The sun has come out, meanwhile, for the race session in of itself. Instant time is 10:02 a.m. 24 degrees Celsius track temperature, 21 degrees is the air temperature. Not a single gust of wind in its optimum track conditions for today. As you see in your upper right-hand corner of your screen, 2 minutes for the drivers to be able to gather themselves up. And as you see, yes, as thought, this is going to take the start around that run up to El Rouge. So a lengthy run down the hillside before they go right back up to the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, I had a feeling that might be the case. Just get past La Source with that line of cars.
I mean, if we had the current layout, that would be where we likely get the green, it's worth noting. But here's the thing. Usually you see a big amount of stack-ups in La Source in the start procedure on the sim side. These drivers will not have to worry about that today. And you see some of the drivers in particular are having to make some final adjustments before they get themselves going here. That's going to be also important to make sure you maintain here is get yourself ready, because it's very different conditions compared to qualifying. Cloudy to partly sunny now.
Yeah, different conditions. Obviously the same racetrack, but different conditions, and it's when you've got to make sure you've got the right setup under you, because there's no turning back.
Among the drivers you see lined up and getting adjustments here that are notable to think about, who will be starting towards the back grouping. Melanson, who qualified in the top 15 at Circuit Zolder, best qualified for Pro-Am again. This time, though, was only 16th best. So that will be a tough break for the Ferrari to try and earn overall point standing tallying. You have Levaik, Archon, Baudry, Landry, Boulanger all grouped together. St. Ors is the only buffer car this week for the Pro-Am drivers compared to what we've seen at Circuit Zolder, where Melanson had about a 3 or 4 car buffer and ran away.
Yeah, he did. And I don't know, I think we'll have to wait and see what happens with Melanson, but you're right, he's just outside of that 15th qualifying spot this time. But I think I got this feeling he'll make it up in the race.
I think so too, based on what we've seen, but it's also having to make sure you keep your eyes open. It's also critical. It's not raining like it was at Zolder. Second to Spa-Francorchamps, as seen in the real world, not fun when it rains, to say the least. Cars are rolling. A pace lap to get things underway here from Circuit to Spa-Francorchamps. Your keys to victory for today, first of all.
Well, I would say it's going to be a few things that I think, like you mentioned, with the pit stalls, the pit selections, and that mandatory stop that they have to make at some point in this race. Running up right through here, maintaining pace, high speed, 5th gear, through a Rouge, then up into 6th gear for the Kemmel run. So I think one of the keys is going to be maintaining a good pace through here. You've got to really know what you're doing at that speed, at that mark, on that part of the racetrack. Limits, whether or not we'll see any limits overachieved on the outside of this track, because you do have a lot of runoff on this track. If you watch through the qualifying, you notice that a lot of the cars were up over the rumble strips, and some of the inside curbing as well it can be a challenge as well. Not so much maybe, yeah, maybe even into Lacombe the first one, but I was thinking more a little further down the racetrack itself. A couple of those corners, you've got to be careful on the inside curving. You can just toss right to the outside of the racetrack in a hurry. So I would say, again, like usual, watch your curbing. I think limits on the outside of the racetrack, and just maintaining pace throughout this racetrack. A lot of speed. That sector that you mentioned is technical. You've got to watch your marks there, be precise, and then power back on for the final sector. Watch the bus stop, get through there nice and clean, and that'll complete a good lap here at the spot.
We'll run through the top 10. The driver that's currently trying to warp the tires in every way out of the sim racing handbook is Jasmine Bovine, who is on the pole. Shenteg's in second, Bourdon in third, Dubé in fourth. And rounds out the top 5. Then it's Ordois in sixth, Medor, then it will be Antoine Landry, and it will be Moisan Laboy. Rounding out the top 10. As mentioned, first of the Pro-Ams is Melanson in 16th overall. Your pick to win this one here, Glenn.
I'm going to go with Melanson again on the Pro-Am side, and how can you bet against the number 99 up front?
Our position's going to be very critical. We talk so much about the draft, yes. For drivers like Shenteg, that's going to be beneficial to keep up. But that extra boost of that clean air in the corners and not having that driver in front to impact for those hard braking zones is also beneficial here too.
Yeah, it is. Shenteg's on a roll. I mean, he's coming off, albeit it was a wet race, as you mentioned, but you know, he's coming off a first place, and he's on the outside of the front row for this one, so he's got some momentum on his side.
Everyone taking their time still for this pace lap. Bovine really wanting to go back and forth on the brakes. Give a little bit of heat in those tires. Always put some heat in those set brakes. They're trying to hit each other nearly for second and third. They're checking up so much here behind the 99.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how kind of a slow pace this pace lap is, really. Really making sure they got the heat in those the brakes and the tires. So Boivan's moving the car back and forth a little bit more yet again.
Really trying to make sure those tires are heated up. Right to their prime temps. A couple drivers nearly bumping each other under the brakes to the bus stop. They starting to double file. Again, the start line is all the way down towards El Rouge, coming out of La Source. So still a couple more moments for these drivers to roll. This will be the finishing line for later today. To think about, 1 hour is up on the board. We're glad to have you with us from Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps here on ACC to see which driver can come away with the victory at the halfway point of the season in EGT3 Challenge Pro competition. It's Bovine, it's Shenteg on the front row. Coming up to the start zone to begin the 4th round of the campaign on a beautiful morning here in Belgium. Waiting for the trigger now at the stripe. Bovine getting a little bit of a buffer over the rest of his competitors by a full car length. They get the green. We're underway from Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, he really made sure he had the jump on the crowd coming up to the green flag, and that paid off, coming through nice and clean through.
No major trouble up the hillside, up to the Kimmel Straight. Already, Ordois trying to make some moves as Dubé's amongst those trying to cut ahead. He's looking for second from the left side into Lacombe. Trying to make it work in towards Malmedy as they bang doors. Holding on to it still, though, is the McLaren to the right side. Dubé shuffled back to third.
Dubé shuffled back. Mayer looked like he may have picked up a spot or two. He had a great run to the inside going into Lacombe as well, and I think he also actually picked up a spot or two.
Bourdon fought hard with Bourdon, meanwhile, still holding on to the top 4. At the back of the lead group now is Moisan. One driver did pick up some incident points, but one driver ran away already. Bovine half a second up at the last going loop. Meanwhile, it's 2 by 2 behind him.
How do you get so far ahead so early? Wow.
Lights like this one help, as Dubé really wants to hold on to third still.
Shenteng had to give it up.
Check it up, yes, for second position. Check that third now. As you see, fifth position driver Bordeaux. That's right now staying in the fifth spot. There is in sixth right now for this run up to Blanchimont for the first time.
And there's a good line of just seeing what we talked about, how they just stretch the limits of the racetrack all over the place here at Spa.
Really trying to stretch it a little bit, or Don rather. Not about a peak, goes for a lunge instead. That nearly sticks. They're 3 wide. Stack up now out of the bus stop. 3 wide again with Mador. Mador forces it to the middle and makes it work.
Wow.
Big wreck behind him, meanwhile, with 3 yellow flag bubbles coming out of the run through Blanchimont. Everyone fighting hard for third. 2 by 2.
Stacked up. This could get messy. Mayer trying to find a spot in his car. Oh, now they're settling in. I don't like that. This is going to look.
Dubé scrubbed the wall. Mayer thought about it. Has to go to fourth gear, in fact, and he forced one driver wide. 3 wide as Mador spins it. More drivers to the outside walls. Moisson amongst those dodging, but it's Mador who stopped on the track with an incident.
Oh, tough break.
You also have LeBoy, who also was involved in the contact, and all this fighting for third on back has cost them almost 4 seconds to the race leader.
You know, it just didn't look good coming out of La Sorte. They're all gathered up like that, going 2-3 wide up through a Rouge, and it just didn't work.
Stefano with the helicopter. Mador has put his car in the tow truck, as well as a couple others. Of note, Sainors had some trouble involving that incident we were referring to that took place around Blanchimont. But Dubé, he got what he wanted in third. But how much of a price was paid for some here? This is after Dubé scrubbed the wall, they were single file for the top 3, and then they started to still fight fourth on back in the train.
Oh, it looked like it was between Mayer at first, started it all. Him in contact with, who was that was beside Mayer that they had initial contact with? He had started all that.
And that would be in 7th position. That is Landry.
That was Landry, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Marc-Antoine Landry machine in that Lamborghini. He went wide left, trying to keep himself away there instead. Absolute pandemonium breaks out with one of the biggest incidents of the season so far. Now Bordeaux is fighting for that 4 spots and now has to defend to the right. Mayer with the lunge again.
Oh, I got to catch my breath. They're only 5 minutes in, and this has been some great racing.
It happens on every sim. Drivers see the door open for the bus stop, try and lunge through it from 20 car lengths back. Sometimes it works, most times it doesn't. Marc-Antoine Landry now you see in the EGT Motorsport machine. Trying to find hard and look at that pit lane exit. Some of the drivers who have taken the tows have already come back out of the lane. Some of them will have to rejoin eventually in the racing line in Kemmel, up to the Kemmel straight, keep in mind, later today.
Yeah, you have to have your wits about you when it comes to there. Some cars coming out.
A couple drivers really skirting through the grass. That was Racine cutting part of the infield. Irisusi, meanwhile, battle for 13th on track. Remember how we mentioned the 775 might gain spots? He's currently 12th on circuit. Lap car we talked about coming out of the pits is right there too, hence the reason for the blue flags. This is not helpful for 14th on back though.
No. Now with those cold tires, everybody's trying to get around that lap car.
Gilado, who struggled in qualifying, taking advantage of a lot of that attrition, up to 15th. Remember, started in the 20s, one of the lowest ranked Pro-Am qualifiers, rather Pro Driver qualifiers for the day. Barreling leg still over Aussie as well as we see the back bumper, but that was cleanly done on the lap traffic. Not too much time lost. Up to third we go. This is now following along with the driver chasing after third, the SOP, the Arctic car machine. This is Rodon. He's looked quicker at times so far compared to Dubé, but the problem has been getting the pass done with how aggressive that Ferrari's been.
Yeah, he's too far back right now to look at anything, but he's just going to pull the line through the bus stop here. Interesting to see their speed differential up through Rouge.
Especially with that draft 2:18.5 last time by for the 7.15. He's already trying to set things up, and keep in mind Dubé is awfully dangerous to adding damage to that Ferrari. He's already scrubbed the wall once right around this section. He nearly scrubbed it again in the inside of La Source.
Yeah, and don't forget Dubé's got something to prove here with some rather disappointing runs to start the season. He wants to prove that I should be up a little further than I am, guys.
Take a look once again at Old Rushlow. 17th now on track. Testing some of the track limits, going a bit to the left there. Going through already on.
You got to straighten that sucker up as much as you can, and you'll see them do that a lot through there.
That gained him a little bit of time, we'll say, for the battle for 16th overall. That is Collins in front. Collins third on track in the Pro-Am class currently. Give credit to Jeff Collins as... There goes that credit. Picking up a little bit of sand there as that red machine. On by. Keep in mind, you see with some of the scrubs, there has been some contact already with some of the checkups involving that machine to the front bumper.
Such a trick.
Go ahead. I was about to say.
That's such a tricky part of the racetrack, Rivage, where you got to really hold that throttle nice and steady all the way around that corner.
Here's the bit of meanwhile. Battle Goat Racing Machine. He's added a message, I think, to the front bumper since the last time we've seen him this season. Curious what it says in the mirror, because it is reversed like that. Meanwhile, you mentioned working for the runs. 715. He is a couple car lengths closer this time. Don't know if he's close enough for the lunge still yet, unless he gets a great run right here, almost to the edge of the runoff. He's taken a thought. Too far.
It's interesting at this early stage of the race how we see some of these drivers who are a little further down in the points and the finishing results from the first few races are having some really great runs here at the early stages here at Spa.
Taking a look now at a side-by-side battle. This is involving Alvarez, 11th. Moves back to 10th with that cut to the inside. Kajunas gets shuffled down the pylon. Alvarez able to take the preferred line, able to take the position in that battle after entering on the non-preferred line to the bus stop. The tough thing about trying to find your way around these cars, though, I've noticed, Glenn, over the years, on the sim side in particular, is you have to get it done quickly. Because if you do it where you're side-by-side for a couple corners, a half a track, by the time you get the pass done, you might have lost the draft to the cars in front of you.
Right. So true.
How do you try and find that balance to make sure you don't do that?
You know what? That's the $1 million question right there. I wish I could answer that, and I'd have $1 million. It's such a balancing act, a fine line. You got to make sure you got the right moment in time, let's say, and if you don't, that's where you lose. Timing.
Especially the times we've seen some of the drivers have to push ahead. Alvarez is already gaining over Kajunas by a fair margin. 3/10 last scoring loop. For reference, Moisani is 1.7 seconds behind the next car. 1.6 back is Alvarez, currently to the 9th place machine now. Worth noting that you see on the track map, the race leader is already getting some traffic to deal with. on having to work around some of the drivers who have had to take fast repairs already. So that will be a factor early on already, is how much the traffic could come into play, especially once you have a lot of drivers pitting with that long pit delta today.
Right, but then that lead that he has, you don't want to lose it obviously in the lap traffic, but at the same time, he doesn't have to panic and rush a pass. He can pick and choose his time right now.
He didn't lose half a second, keep in mind. You see on your screen. Bourdon, meanwhile, you see on board on your middle screen. This is Bourdon chasing on behind. They're also in this train, also joined by Landry currently. And I've been liking what I'm seeing from Bourdon, I will say. Really good in this section in particular. The best sector, I think, still is Sector 2 for him. He actually lost 2 tenths to Dubé for reference. Dubé seems to be quicker down the straight.
Yeah, Ferrari is a little bit more slipstream perhaps than maybe that technical part of the racetrack is where the McLaren has it over the Ferrari.
For reference. See just how much he's struggling a little bit with some of the aero wake, but also in this Porsche. Your thoughts on the Porsche and its abilities for a track like this, from your experience?
It's probably a pretty decent overall car for this track. It's actually not so much in racing trim, I would say, but in lapping day trim. You'll hear a lot of instructors tell you that the Porsche is an overall perfect car because of its general balance and stability. So it's probably a pretty decent car for this track. It might be a little bit less on the top speed side though, to the Porsche.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Think about that. Here's Susie, meanwhile, 13th right now. One of the higher running BMWs. We mentioned BMW's developments for their current generation, this type of racing, to try and be BOP-proof, so to speak. BMWs in the real world have not had the greatest of starts, we'll say. What was seen in Daytona, as we talked about in the past, but the BMWs on the sim side, they can be sporty too, with the right driver and the right hands on the wheel, and the right people turning the right dials to be able to make passes like that work.
Wasn't that sporty?
Yes. It's not done yet, though.
Nice clean racing, though. They haven't touched at all. Right through the bus stop.
That is Levike, who is the highest running Pro-Am driver still. Keep in mind, in regards to that battle, the more these two squabble, the more that allows Tommy Landry to catch back up for the class lead there.
Yeah, and he's still going to want to see that battle continue for sure. Suzu obviously not a factor in that battle, but for sure, Tommy Landry wants to see that battle continue.
Reference, the scoring loop's now being updated. 1.3 seconds back, he gained about half a second from that squabble with the Team GTCQ machine, and he is gaining, in fact, on the 775. The 75 is running away as well.
Pro-Am battle, going to be a good one here.
Keep an eye on that one on the timing pylons, as Bourdon still trying to find a way to get some runs for 4. The one thing I've noticed for the Last But Relax powered by RST machine is it's similar to what we've seen for some in qualifying. Just struggling on the right-hand exits, I've noticed, in right-hand corners to hug the curbing compared to the left-handers.
Let's keep an eye on that throughout the balance of this race.
Still
a long way to go.
Do you think that's because of the balance of the car?
That's a possibility. That's why I'm just curious if that's the entire wear and fuel will affect the handling of the car, but I'm kind of wondering how they've gotten their cars set up for the longer run, perhaps towards the end of the race.
Keep in mind as well, Bourdon, who is still in 4th here, it's closing in, and all this while, there's another Porsche who, if this car slips back, ready to chomp away and take away the top 5. Mayer, who has been one of the stronger competitors consistency-wise in each of his starts this season.
Yeah, just think about that setup. Nice.
Trouble for the... Pardon me, on that map you just seen, the 471 has had an issue. That is Pacey, I should say, who has had some problems, has had to tow. That was in the middle of a pack around this grouping in particular that some has been split up a little bit. Belanger is looking to fight now for 23rd. You see on the pylon, a few drivers have completed their pit stops, partly with some of the attrition early. Belanger is amongst those who have taken the pit stop. Thibodeau took an early stop a few laps ago. Trepanier also has taken a stop. Lafreniere has also had to take a stop already. St. Ors is already out. And the tough part about this call too, though, is they're a lap down already.
Yeah. Not looking to slow down at all at this point in the race as well. It's just a spectacular job up front.
And that's got to be concern for some who think about the undercut call is, with the amount of time in the pit lane, we're looking at a full lap likely for your service, and it puts you around where you've been running or near it at least. That's a major risk if you get held up in traffic.
Exactly. That's where I was just thinking too, where you are on the stall, that amount of time that in general is going to take. Where do you decide, well, you've got a clear racetrack come in, you've got piled into a bunch of lap cars or some slower traffic, you just might as well pull into the pits and get out of that and do your stop. It's a strategy call, there's no question about it.
Give credit as well to Marc-Antoine Landry, who's kept inside this train for about second on back right now. That's full. Check that third on back. Although they are catching a bit to Shente, who broke away for some time. He's done a really good job to group together. The tough part about the train, though, is it's starting to lose some cars because this past lap or two, Dubé and Bourdon have really picked up the tempo compared to these three. And it looks like Marc-Antoine Landry is realizing he's got to go. One driver is going to take the runoff area.
Way off there.
Marc-Antoine Landry just avoiding contact on the rejoin too, Glenn.
Yeah. Trying to see who that was. At first I thought it might be Mayer.
It was Mayer.
Yeah.
So Mayer's lost a few spots with that mistake. Bad time to have one. Especially knowing window quickly approaching for a few of the drivers and knowing the importance of keeping that positioning.
I must have just missed his braking into the cone.
Going back with Belanger meanwhile. Is he just trying to pace himself right now? That is a car up the road in this regard for position 23rd. Ballet, who we followed along with the qualifying for a bit, who had that struggle in terms of sticking to the bottom in the Aston Martin.
Looks like there's some good battles throughout getting rid of this track right now. And no matter if you're a spectator watching this race around the circuit, you're getting entertained because there's some good battles throughout.
I didn't think it's such a popular circuit, whether it's with the endurance racing scene or whether it's with sort of Grand Prix, World Championship level. Belanger got the run now for 23rd. Getting dicey, someone has to give. Well, who will it be is the question. The one squeezed off, the one has to give it up.
Nice pass.
Jay obviously showing the speed quicker. Pit stop up in front of them, meanwhile. I believe that's Campos peeling off. So some of the drivers taking that advice we talked about earlier. Going for a different call. Get yourself out of the traffic. See what can happen.
There's another driver missing the cone.
That is a lap car. That's Lafreniere, who, remember, has already taken a pit stop, and he's now pulling over to the side and let them go. That just broke up the pack after it regrouped after a couple laps.
Yeah, that's going to take some time to gather them back up again if they can.
And that mistake, by the way, cost Mayer 1.4 seconds to Marc-Antoine Landry. That's how critical one major off-track can be. Bourdon now wants to make a move, maybe. Has a run, pokes left, hard brake, forced to check up again.
He's getting there, but not quite enough. He's just going to have to keep the pressure on.
It's almost like he's reaching for the wrong spots.
Yeah, no, exactly right. He's got the run right where he doesn't need it. When he needs it, it's not there for him. It's not close enough to make that sim Hail Mary.
He's still within 3 car lengths, one of the closest margins he's been through Francorchamps. Look on board, this is the 715. No left there, looking to the right, he's thinking about it again. Tries to send it, makes contact. Dubé holds onto it. Dubé holds onto the spot, and here comes the rest of the group.
All that battle is gone back up again. We're going to go single file. That's not quite enough for Bourdon.
On again, going for the cut. Can't get the diamond. Dubé holds on still. Almost had it.
He did. He almost had it.
Can't make the move in this spot comfortably at the moment. Here's the look from the end of the train currently. This is Landry. A perfect view for what's about to happen through the Kemmel Straight into Lake Home.
Bourdon going to look to the inside. He's going to try the move. Oh, protecting the inside lane. Dubé.
How will Bourdon handle that? Goes to the left. Takes the runoff. Forced to cut the track. The 715 cuts the course. And he might have to let the spot back. Yes, he's pulling over to let it back.
Yeah, that's a good move. But, will he get back in line? Oh, he does.
That just lost the ground, though, for Bourdon. He's lost the bottom from the checkup. Here comes Landry.
Yeah. Oh, what a move. What racing.
Dubé really wants to show that he wants this podium so bad.
Yeah, he's handling the pressure fantastic. Right, all that happening behind him. Didn't keep his eyes off the road in front. Let all that unfold behind him.
Avnot Valet has selected to come down to the pit lane for that window. 35 minutes to go. One needing time to regroup. He's trying the late break, though. Not working as Landry's there. Landry to the right.
He's got the line.
Into the sand. Bourdon keeps it off the wall.
Jumps only one spot.
We lose 2, though. Here comes Bourdon. Bourdon keeps it into the left side. Yes, Bourdon loses 2 spots in 1 corner.
Agreed now.
3 spots in 1 corner. Mayer sends the stamp.
Mayer's off the track.
Just got it
real wide.
Just locked it down in time to keep it off the runoff, but that cost him all the time back. Wow.
Oh.
Here's David Susi, meanwhile. He's having a heavy battle for 11th position with Kat Junis as well. So 2 different busy battles, all taking part in 1 sector currently. Dubé has now built up a good buffer. Bourdon trying to build up a run back in the Porsche.
And we still have a half a race to go yet.
And a mandatory pit stop that could be critical for some of these drivers to break away. Couple more towards the back of pit. Here comes the nose shown by Bordeaux. No send yet, too far back.
Interesting to note the track temperature since we started this race has gone up 2 degrees Celsius.
I don't think you mean just the temperature in regards to the track, but also the temperatures when it comes to the tempers flaring, it seems.
They're off the charts.
At this point, yes.
But we're loving it. This is great racing at Spa.
So Landry up to a race high 4th with all that scuffling. Dubé has his biggest cushion in a while by 1.1 seconds. Now, what will the Lamborghini do is the question once they get up there, because, to be quite frank, as we've seen with the draft, these drivers are quick to the point where they're even if not a little quicker than Dubé in this section, and then use that draft to close up the gap fully. Get the confirmation with the scoring loop. At 1.1 seconds back on the last loop. 2/10 gain in sector 2.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Why not? Like I said, we can get it going in high-speed parts. Oh, and just to note, Bouvai's only about 7 seconds ahead.
He's having the calmest race out of anybody right now. Although he does have some more traffic to deal with potentially, but now, a 3-car train that's trying to catch up to its original conductor. Now within 1.2, they lost a bit of ground to the bus stop. Susi, meanwhile, in the battle for 11th. Here we got to the back bumper of Katjunis at the end of the racetrack to the source.
And they're having a great race. I'm enjoying when we get to see that one as well. Katjunis is doing a good job.
We'll say Katjunis seems to be struggling overall. He lost that 4-second buffer that he had before that battle with Alvarez. Holding on strong though for 11th. And Campbell straight run. Meanwhile, these drivers making the run 4th on forward. One more peak. This is for 4th now. Bordeaux wants it to the right side. Will it stick? Yes, it does. Bordeaux gives him the space. A swap for 4th.
Give credit where credit's due for all these drivers. There's been some good, clean, hard racing, side-by-side action through the home, through the bus stop. A couple of side-to-side contacts we've seen for sure, but in general, overall, some good races.
Just 1 minute away from halfway. Caution flag now waving for one driver. DeBidden is that driver, and he's had an issue to the Kemmel Straight. The Battle Goat Racing driver is on the right side of the racetrack and has had to tow. Unsure of the reason there, but bad situation for him. He had been running well earlier.
Yeah, tough break. Just inside the top 10 in the Pro-Am points coming to this race as well.
See him fall down pylon likely with that long and lengthy tow at this track with how big it is. On some sims, it could be as high as 3 to 5 minutes to be brought back to the pit lane. Here's a look at the replay, and this will be involving DeBidden. Right there, that little weave. Oh.
It just became a pinball after that.
Just looked like he clattered maybe the curbing on the left side of the track that sent him right.
Yeah. Looked like that.
So DeBidden now off circuit with the tow. Katjunis nearly breaks himself off the track in turn for the battle for 11th.
That's gives Susi the run.
And that gives a couple drivers the run. That's Levique who drives off and away as well.
One little mistake coming into the bus stop in those 2 spots, just like that.
By the way, checking in on Blanche with some of the drivers pitting, he's up to 18th. He's also passed by the 74 from that spot as well. Katjunis, meanwhile, just starting to really fall off. Looks strong early with qualifying pace. Long run pace just doesn't seem to be there today. The 77.
Yeah, right, and I think we're actually seeing Susi pull away from him now. You see that happen. I think Susi was faster, just couldn't find the right way to pass.
Until, well, Katjunis braked himself.
Yeah, that's right.
Of note, you see with the timing pylons just past the halfway mark in this one. A lot of those packs we were seeing have broken apart from what was staying very close before. Dubé is actually broken away by 1.8 seconds from Landry. Bourdouin has come to the pit lane for his scheduled stop. That's in part why you see some of the shuffling with Katjunis back in 12th again. So knowing how big this track is, it looks like maybe the thought is, usually we've seen it as long as you can, go until you have to top off at the end. This is not the easiest track though to do that because you can run out of gas and be stuck about 2 miles away from the finish line.
Yeah, no, that's play it safe, right? You don't want to get down to that point of the tank where you're on fumes. You're not going to make it back.
And when it comes to the endurance side, when it comes to 24-hour racing in particular on the sims, the main thought that always comes to mind on the strategy mark is finding that way to save that one extra lap per stint to try and reduce the amount of stops you'd have to take in the long haul. That's a very difficult job to do in the first place, mind you.
Yeah, and you know what, I would say that's not even just in the sim world, that's in the real world as well. I think it's overall, when it comes to racing, conserve fuel, save fuel. Let's see what we've got for this replay.
Remember that blue machine? That's Boulanger. Well, and Jackie X got some curb to the right, spins it to the left.
Good save.
Lost him a spot, yes. The car's still running. Once again, that's more important for now.
Yeah, that's right. No, you know, go ahead.
I was about to say, with this battle now back to 4th, the one thing I've noticed when it comes to Landry, he's really struggling, it seems, as being the lead car. Why do you think that may be, where he looks more quicker in the draft, looks more confident in the draft, but when he gets this cleaner like this, he can't close it up to get Dubé's draft now?
Yeah, it's maybe that car just works a little better when he's behind something, getting in tow. Maybe just plants the arrow on it a little bit better. Or he's too worried about the battle going on in his rearview mirror, trying to make sure that he keeps Bourdais behind him.
Oh, yeah. You have to consider, too, Bourdon, who is amongst this grouping 2, has already taken that service. It is a lap down for now, 13 seconds or so behind the current race leader on track. They don't have that third car like they had before that strategy difference.
That's right.
Again, Landry's picked up a couple more tenths this sector. He's lost some time, though, each lap around that 1.8 second buffer again here. Bourdouin say, you know, I want to go. He says, you know, I want to go left. Late breaks it in, doesn't work.
I was going to try and crisscross on the outside of the exit bus stop, but not enough.
It seems like the 432 knows that he's got decent pace and knows that he needs to be the lead car. With that dive right there in the La Source, that just indicated his patience level was almost gone.
Yeah. And he's letting, he's certainly letting Landry know that I'm here and you're still in the mirror. Look at this.
Cracks the throttle for 6th gear. Then a curve on the left side that costs him some momentum. May cost him the chance to get the run here through the Kimmel Straight.
Yeah, exactly. I think he was going to go for that run, and he couldn't after that.
He does stay in the line as expected there. They've lost half a second this lap already.
It's just got to be from their own intense little battle, I would say. Dubé's just going to hang on to the fact that he's all alone there and there's 2 battle behind him.
At least until they get to where the 163 is on the racetrack. Potentially be a factor amongst the traffic.
Yeah.
Speaking of some of the battles, There's an error Belanger in the field today. This is David Belanger for Orion E-Racing. Frene elected to go for the early stop. He also elected to go for the early stop. Only last of those running in the pro class. Not the way the 22 needed this race to go today.
No, I think this is just the second race in the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, and a big send to the inside.
Hey, good run.
Interclass traffic, so move up forward on the overall pylon, but still back of the grouping for the pro drivers. Of note, Jeff Collins has pit this lap. Also seeing the 241 at the end of the lane. That is still Collins, I should rather say. Once those roll down, there's another driver, 74, that will also come on in. Here's a look at the battle again for fourth. Dubé's just in his own little world right now as these two continue to fight.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, Dubé's just sitting comfortably right now, so to speak.
Almost his race has been, indeed, for David Belanger.
Just trying to figure out when get in these drivers' heads and think with 22 to go, when do they want to make that stop? All these drivers at the top of the leaderboard.
This is for position, by the way. As mentioned, Collins had completed his service. He came out right with them at the other end of the racetrack. Started sector 2. While still can't get the runs he's been looking for. They pulled away from Mayer. Meanwhile, Alvarez battles hard. That's Susi who's been able to reel him in and gets checked.
Oh, contact.
Alvarez holds on to ninth, but that is not going to be a popular move from Susi. He now is showing his frustration with the bumper.
Yeah, he got punted out of the way, and he's not happy about it at all.
Alvarez still able to hold on to the spot. Currently 8th on track amongst that grouping. Here's a look now at Belanger, who now has the run around the Ferrari and Collins. Collins just giving him the space.
Yeah, good move on Collins, really, to give him the space.
Collins, though, not giving as much space to the Pro-Am driver to be expected when you're in the same class. That is Campos, who might not be happy with not getting the same treatment because that's helped a few others to get back to him, like Trepanier. Here's the look at fourth again. That's only about 10 seconds or so up the road from these drivers. Ordois gets the run. Again, left side. Again, later break. Again, no dice. Landry, though, slipped the tires. Bit of a checkup, though. Parked the bus on the exit.
Gotta wonder if he's thinking about setting him up for that move a little later. Keeps testing the waters.
Keeps running cross under like that. That's his best run there out of La Source.
Got the momentum.
Looking back to Campos for now. He's right now defending side by side. Meanwhile, for fourth, someone has to give, and it is Bordelwall who gives up the hillside.
Yeah, just gotta give up that spot to LaRoche.
Meanwhile, Campos is now getting lapped. Ladies and gentlemen, your race leader.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, I forgot about him. Checking out.
He's just passing these drivers like they're sitting still. No offense to them. Some of them running the 221s you see with fall off for a couple drivers. But as mentioned, the best of the best find a way to make that fall off only 2/10 in the span of 30 minutes. Still nowhere to go, though, in this battle. This is for position. The driver in front completed their service a few moments ago. 142. That is Fultz Rushlow, who is trying to hold on for now for this respective scrap.
Yeah, so again, there's those pit stops coming into fact. It came out just in front, opposite David Belanger.
Is for a class battle, mind you, too, with the race leader now only 10 car lengths behind. Behind E-Racing Machine. Good run again. Very defensive for a battle for 23rd. And too strong is the corner. He hits the tire barrier for good measure on the way back on the track.
Oh, man, and that's just going to mean they got some cars coming up behind them even quicker now.
You'd have to think he has to give up the time, and
Oh!
he turns it in and smashes him into the wall. What in the world?
Yeah.
That may get looked at post-race. Campos for 25th.
Yeah, was he up alongside enough to call it his corner? It's a tight. The source is a pretty tight corner to try to make that move.
Jeff Collins losing more time. Campos now having to defend for that 25th spot, with Trepanier having the better run. Campos takes defensive maneuvers. Mercedes, he gets bumped in the door trying to squeeze and cuts the corner. Apparently everybody's wanting to give the squeeze today.
Yeah. Lost a spot too. Well, it was at fourth position. I didn't see who that was.
Yes, it was.
At fourth position. Okay.
Jeff Collins actually gained the spot back from it.
So that's not going to be a popular move.
The term that's always utilized whenever there's an incident involving someone pinching is, you pinch, you pay. It's more so on the stock car side, but with some of the rises of some sims, of AI, you can see the results of what happens when you pinch with someone who is a person who does not like getting pinched.
Well, if you pinch, you pay. I think there might be a wallet out getting ready to pay.
Yep.
Get close enough.
If I had a nickel for how many times I've heard that phrase of late, I think I'd have a pile of about 350 nickels.
This is getting down to the wire here, you know. That 1 hour race is now down to a sprint, and again, this is the halfway point. Every position is going to matter from here on out, even more so.
Especially if you want to be able to be that driver who says, I'm a championship contender. And for those who wanted to set their goals coming into the season and hit said goals, you have to execute. You can't just say, oh, I'm at my goal now, I'm going to back down. As Trepanier letting by some of the lead lap cars now with the blue flags.
Well, the beauty about those goals is once you hit a goal, you move the goalpost.
Or some might say, why not set the goalpost as far as possible?
Baby steps, Justin, baby steps.
Here's a look at Thibodeau, who's had a quiet run. In the top 20 now, who's already completed their service. Amongst the Pro-Am drivers, third in class for those who've taken service. DeWart's had a strong run, I will give credit as well for the 17 car. It's way up road still.
Interesting to see those two lines affecting the handling of those cars, perhaps. As they came through.
Oh, and now Trepanier's getting fed a door again. This is Jonathan Beaudry sending it. Apparently, there's a sale on dive bombs today.
Buy one, get 3 free.
Maybe it's 10 of them for free.
Could be, I think you're right.
Thibodeau, not taking that deal, says, I'd rather have a clean car. We'll see if he elects to take the deal with the advertisement that comes up at a Blanchimont, maybe. Grenier is right up in front. This is for 19th. Good run for the 2022 BILT machine, but not close enough to send it, realistically. Keeps it clean, yes.
Yeah, and they've got the leader coming up not too far behind them. You just see him in the shot there.
and that's going to be an intriguing factor in this grouping too, is, how do I phrase this? The selective blue flag maneuvering could be critical too, where if you choose the right time to let the leader go, and the driver in front of you doesn't, guess who falls on behind the leader and passes?
Well, with these two battling for position, they could be focused on their own little battle, and they're right. That blue flag, depending on where it is on the racetrack, it could really upset their little race within this race.
They're slowly reeling in the cars in front. The 17 in particular, and Ward is losing ground and quickly to them in his BMW.
Yeah, and all three cars same class, so it is for position.
First amongst those who have pitted in the Pro-Am, yes. The 77 has gone into the pit lane, meanwhile. The window for some of the top runners is open. That is Katjunas, you see on your bubbles, into the pit lane. Going by the 432 as well in the lane for service. Thibodeau, meanwhile, now has to look at the rear view mirror, losing ground and quickly in Sector 2 with the race leader right on behind.
And we still have to see Bavarian and company still make that pit stop. Got it's coming up a yellow flag there.
And it's in front of them, and this could get checky. One car to the side. Belanger drives on by, and I have a feeling which car that was based on the livery. Yes, it's Thibodeau. What just happened to Thibodeau? And that was in front of the race leader.
Yeah.
Bordeaux actually completed his stop in that sequence, by the way, and has come out in a good spot in front of the 715 by 10-15 car lengths. The battle for what's now 20th again is feeding doors. Again they touch. Again they cut the corner. This is what triggered the caution wave. This was right after we cut away.
Okay, so what happens to Thibodeau here?
Too much curb.
Yep. That's it. Too much.
Meanwhile, in this battle that's been going on track, Fultz Rushlow is not making a friend today, it seems. Frenemies, more so, is what he's making. Belanger drives on by for 21st now from that. Well, the other Belanger.
The other one.
Thibodeau, now with that check up into the run up Belle Rouge and Radion. For side by side, he feeds a bit of door. And that forces a mistake.
I mean, that's not for class, that's just for position. I'm surprised he pushed it that hard through there.
Look up the road, too, for what is also for overall positioning, and not in the same class either. Marcel Belanger trying to find a way around Fultz Rushlow, who is trying to park it everywhere.
I think that just comes back to, again, realizing, you know, like you mentioned, fourth round, halfway through, every position does matter, whether it's in class or not.
For example, the overall standings we've seen early on. Like, who is in for his service. Shentag is also coming to the pit lane for a pit stop. Indication has already completed said service. Meanwhile, Beaudry, Campos, swap for 24. Check 23rd, yes, 24.
Now under 10 minutes to go, track temp just went up another degree as well. So just heating up a little bit more towards the last few minutes of this race. Inside the cockpit as well.
12 drivers still yet to pit this time around. Who will come in is the biggest question for some. We'll see how it breaks down. But for this battle for 20th, it's been ugly. Trying to pass the 142 today. Marcel Belanger giving a lot of space there. I mean, we've seen what happened the last time. The driver tried to dive past. Spa-Francorchamps still keeping it back. 22 also in this train. Thibodeau also in said train. Beaudry and Campos are now hooking onto the train.
This is going to be a good run to the finish. If it stays like this, I think they're going to have a heck of a battle.
The hill once some more. Marcel Boulanger in the C100L car. 20th overall. It's Weeble Wobble time. Thibodeau gets the run behind. Defensive line, 2x2. Once again, Telecom goes to 2x1 and back to 1x1x1x1.
Yeah, smarter move through there. Single file, guys. Single file at your elbows at the end.
Tommy Landry has come in for his scheduled pit stop this time around to the 917. 11 drivers yet to take their mandatory stop. 8 minutes to go. About 4 estimated laps to go based on the time seen today because of that mark. If not 3.
David Boulanger is getting anxious. I've seen him stick the nose a couple times now. Watch this. He's getting anxious to get that spot.
He is a pro class driver compared to the pro-am drivers. Just wrap around. Here comes the send. There goes the send. Beaudry now there. Nicely done indeed, as you talked about. Kept it clean, and the pro-am driver. Bit of space. Minutes on the clock. Marcel Boulanger starting to fall off a bit here. He's now dived underneath to the grass. Beaudry doors him.
Oh!
Both of them are off. Boulanger to the wall. And Boulanger has a problem. His car is broken. He cuts across the track.
Oh my lord.
Into Dubé. And parks it in front of the leaders. Are you kidding?
I'm speechless, to be honest. That was unbelievable. I mean, obviously through the grass, he couldn't do much about slowing the car down at all, obviously. But wow, tough break all around for everyone in that case.
Marc-Antoine Landry, significant damage. The Ferrari we see getting speared in Dubé. All with that battle with Jonathan Beaudry, who got squeezed into the grass, heading towards Blanchimont.
Yeah, just way too high speed a racetrack for those kind of games. That section of the racetrack, they're both off.
And now Beaudry's getting doored. Marcel Boulanger's back going. But my goodness, he nearly hooks a car there in Trepanier.
He's having a tough race of it, isn't he?
He was having such a good one till the past 5 minutes.
That's just coming unhinged.
Most of the other cars, by the way, have come to the pit lane. Some of them forced because of what just happened there. That will be a lot to digest in post-race, let's put it that way, to put it politely.
Yeah.
And you gotta feel, I think, the most out of all of that for drivers like Dubé, who we talked about running on his own. Broke apart, broke that buffer forward. And then you just get that contact to your side right before your pit stop. It just costs you all your time.
Yeah. Just threw what was a great race out the window.
Never caution, the 22's off. Let's take a look at the replay. This, what in the world?
Oh, he's up over there, see? Oh.
And it gets worse.
Yeah. Can't hold it.
And then
this is where he's just out of control. You can't stop him.
And then he pulls forward into Collins. If I'm Dubé, I'm furious. You're not expecting that as a driver with 4 minutes to go.
No, Dubé. I think worse for wear out of all that.
Dubé has lost spots to Marc-Antoine Landry and Bourdon from that incident. Bourdon has a chance to pass him too, so Dubé's chance for a podium has gone up in flames.
What's, again, scoring such great points at that stage of the race, and he needed it. He desperately needed it to get back into the hunt.
This is right now for 7th on track. Currently, what will be about 6th net. One looking. Not going to force it. Oh, 2 to go. Racine and Bovard are the only drivers yet to pit.
Oh, looking at that, is that just me, or have I not, they have not been in the pits yet, and we're almost checkered here.
Well, he saw him pit this time by. That's going to be a very short pit delta to add on to this to make it that far. Again, you have to have the pit stop. This is now for 7, with that service being taken by the 21. Move it to 6 now. Drive through penalty. Bourdon. He's gone over the limit.
See the 99, see if he comes into the pits here.
Yes, he is. But for Bourdon, a chance for a top 5 has just gone up in smoke with run over run Rue El Rouge and Radion. The race leader's in, taking the white flag this time by. Expect to see the checker next time around for him. Look at Trepanier amongst that brawl of a fight. To keep it simple, this group has been very crazy today. Trepanier not able to move up forward yet to get up to Collins after all that bumping and slamming.
Yeah, Trepanier's best finish of the year was a 2nd.
Class, yes, very deep down the pylon. This will hurt Trepanier's point tallies. Tommy Landry is currently 2nd in class behind Levac, who is again dominated in Pro-Am style. 20th position. Guess who's holding on to 19th? And guess who's blocking hard to the right? What's Rushlow really trying to channel his inner Ryan Newman for some circles who may know that reference.
Look at you go. Good one.
Pit stop sequence is done for the 99. Expect the checker this time down to the final 40 seconds. We'll get confirmation once he gets towards the finishing line. And as everyone else has spontaneously combusted, he's just driven his race.
Oh, it's flawless.
Hasn't been challenged since the opening second of the race. Remember, he actually jumped ahead by a car length into the opening corner.
Exactly. I mean, doing a great job of, once again, padding his points lead. But here's a driver you got to feel bad for. The other driver who had a lead coming into this division, into this race. 45. Tough break for Melanson in the Pro-Am division.
We haven't even talked about him all day. Oh my goodness! 3 wide, not gonna work. Campos with the send.
I just might as well get some more body work to the checker flag here. Why not?
White flag is confirmed. This is their final time around, as they still are fighting for 21st like it's the race lead. This is still a top 10 for Pro-Am for most of these drivers in this group. Thibodeau not the best of runs out of Le Source though. Here comes Beaudry, and here comes the 99. Jonathan Boivin has absolutely dominated at Spa. 17 seconds the gap between him and second. To the checker flag, Jocelyn Bovan will take the checkered here to win the 4th round of the season.
Another great run by that Lexus driver.
And a great run for the 717, pulled away from the battling from 3rd with Dubé quickly. He's pulled away by 10 seconds from the 3rd car to be 2nd on the podium.
Another 2nd place finish on the season with the first end tag.
And great for Marc-Antoine Landry, his best run. Up to 3rd after having to dodge the incident. Bourdon 4th. Bourdon did not serve the the drive-through rather. 82nd time penalty for the 715 officially.
Wow.
That is catastrophic for his season. As we look at some of the errors across the line, last of the top 10 is Moisson. Good finish for him. He'll jump up a spot, as well as drivers like Susi from that time penalty for the 715. Katjunis recovers to finish 12th on track unofficially. The Vike checkered wins the Pro-Am. What a drive for the 7, I will say, after starting 25th or so in this one. But with that, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for today's action from Circuit of Spa-Francorchamps here on ACC. Colleague tonight, Glenn Butt. For the rest of our crew, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Congratulations to your class winners at the stripe. Run with a 17-second advantage, and your Pro-Am winner in Levike for their domination at Spa. Good night.
Olivier Sirois, Porsche Québec. Venez rouler pour vrai avec moi au volant d'une Porsche.